Hello guys and welcome to Daily Updates. Well, today is rather an important day in the history of South Africa. One of the best leaders in the world, Mr. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, was born on the 18th of July 1918. So this day was then named Nelson Mandela Day by United Nations in 2009. The meaning behind that was that we need to celebrate Nelson Mandela in many cases, but the most important was to give away 67 minutes of your day on the 18th of July each and every year by doing charity work, helping people who need the most disadvantaged. You participate in helping them and making sure that you give away your time for those that need and do good for this day. So people have been celebrating and taking part since 2009, but a rather concerning issue was that recently we've seen a downfall in the celebration of this day, rather a decline, where people are no longer celebrating this day or taking it serious as we have seen it before. I just want to go through a few things just to show that people are no longer interested or taking part as much as we used to see, and also just look at what could be the reason behind the decline in the celebration of an icon like Mr. Nelson Mandela. Okay, I've just taken a trip to Twitter to just see how the trends are going. As you know, Twitter is mostly used by the youth, and that's where they communicate mostly. When you look at it, the trends in South Africa, you have mass shooting, you have Kanye, you have Nelly M, you have Mandela Day, and you have Paul Mashatile. I'm just going to focus on Nelly M and Nelson and Mandela Day. So basically, the youth in South Africa have decided to change the word Mandela Day and just rather tweet about Nelly M. Nelly M meaning Nelson Mandela. They've just coined Nelly M from Mandela Day. When you go inside it, you can just feel that the youth of South Africa are no longer interested in celebrating or taking part in Mandela Day. One says we're missing Nelly M birthday again this year, right guys? Meaning last year and the year before, there was a major decline in the celebration of Nelson Mandela. Nelly M sold native South Africans out. That is some of the things the youth are saying about the Nelson Mandela Day being Nelly M. If you just look at most of them, like this one, Nelly M, they've just photoshopped him in this picture wearing a durag. Look. So basically, people are no longer, let me just say the youth of South Africa are no longer taking that Mandela Day serious. The fact that they are just calling it Nelly M, you can just see that there is a major decline in the interest of politics in South Africa, in the interest of the most important figures, because for someone like Nelson Mandela and for how we used to see people posting about their charity works, people would be going to paint schools, going to orphanage places and giving away. And Twitter was filled with those videos, those pictures each and every year on the 18th of July. But we have recently seen a very big decline in that. Then the question would be, what could be the reason for people or young people ignoring Mandela Day and just writing Nelly M and just writing negative things about it? So from how I see it and what would lead to young people abandoning that Nelson Mandela Day to rather using Nelly M and speaking negatively about this day, we can just refer it to the current administration and the previous ones after Nelson Mandela left office. He left office, Thabo Mbeki came in, Jacob Zuma came in, to the current one, Cyril Ramaphosa. And when you look at all those things, there is a lot of negative things to say and less positive things to say about the administration. Well, Cyril Ramaphosa said today about Madiba Day, let us evoke Madiba's news patriotism, where South Africans are determined to work together and make our country a winning nation. We cannot leave it to others. We cannot leave it to others to realize that South Africa of our dreams. The future of our country is indeed in our hands. So now, here's a good message, but it will never be received with warm hands. Why? Because if you look at South Africa, it's a shadow of its old self. When Nelson Mandela and most of the leaders, some of them are still alive, when they went to prisons, when they were beaten, when they experienced apartheid and fighting against it, they were fighting for us to have a future that a South Africa that we imagined, most of them imagined. They had that opportunity to get leadership, to get the government. It started well, but when we see ourselves today, it's just so many regrets because people are starving. People are going to bed without food. The same celebrations that we were doing to give away to the less fortunate, it's difficult now to go and celebrate and that day, the Nelson Mandela Day, and give away and help others. While yourself, you need that thing, you need that money, you need those hands, the helping hands. Because the government has forgotten about its people. When you have such a high youth unemployment rate, what do you think the young people would be having in their minds? For them to celebrate that day, it feels like it's just a waste of time because they are not working. They are at home, waking up at home, struggling to have data to access the internet. Now they need to then forget about those problems they have and go and help others. It's a bit difficult for most of them. And we can blame our government because it's in the government's hands to make sure that unemployment is not at its level. Yes, they can blame COVID, but we have been struggling even before COVID came. Now we are paying a lot of money for petrol. Like the country is collapsing. And the young people, they probably feel like, well, we are not important anymore. So what is the use of taking part in most of these things? Because at the end of the day, we go back to our homes and go to bed hungry. So it must be upon the leadership of this country to reflect and feel sorry for how they've just taken this country from where it was, the rainbow nation, to where it is now. A country where each and every weekend, there is a mass shooting. Where you can't go through the night, drive in town during the night and just feel free. A country where crime is running rampant. Then you can't just sit there and just celebrate and feel like, oh, it's okay to just enjoy this day. Because you know by the end of the day, when the 19th of that same month comes, it will be just complaints from you about the government this, the government that. So I myself cannot necessarily blame the youth in their mindset. But I can rather say the most important thing is for us to engage the government in order maybe for them to realize their mistakes. Maybe if it was a different government, I would understand. But we have been complaining for a long time to the ANC. And the fact that nothing changes, we get sweet messages about how significant the day is and what we need to do and lead other nations. But come the 19th, they will be talking about Palapala. Come the 19th, they will be talking about Busisiwe Mkhwebane. But anyway, guys, those are some of the things that I think are contributing to why young people have started to ignore the Nelson Mandela Day and just mock it by calling it the Nelly M Day. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning into the channel, and until next time, cheers.